Hello, and welcome to The Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Each week, they bring you conversations with local Christian businesses and business owners. The Experience Local is brought to you each week by wonderful sponsors.
Copper Rock Real Estate. Commercial and residential real estate in the Mid-Willamette Valley. CopperRockRealty.com. Independent Merchant Brokers. Low-cost and no-cost debit and credit card processing. 877-460-4747. IndependentMerchantBrokers.com. Join Boson Hub Digital Development in supporting Kicking Cancer. Kicking Cancer provides support, education, and resources for cancer patients, survivors, and families. Kicking-cancer.org. Avamere at Albany. Enjoy your retirement and maintain your independent lifestyle with the support and amenities to make life a little easier. Learn more, avamereatalbany.com. Discover Oregon Real Estate. Tim Rist on the web at dore.llc. Find your people, find your home.
And now, your hosts for The Experience Local, Russ and Scott.
Russ and
Ta-da!
Scott.
Well, here we are, live and in person. I'm so excited because it's Monday and mornings are my time. So ready to roll. Scott, how about you?
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to thank our sponsors that allow me to hang out with you every Monday. And also, one of the ones that I want to mention is the Arbor at Avamere Court. And they are part of our sponsorship. I need to update that little video in there. But, you know, I was just talking with my aunt. And her little sister, my aunt, is in dementia right now. And my aunt, who's 90 years old, is caring for her. And and she's just, it's tough. That's really hard to do. And at this point, you know, she's asking for advice. And my advice is you need to find some place that's got memory care. And the Arbor and at Avamere Court, these are the types of places that will take care of your loved one, of your family member, of your spouse with care and compassion, and allow you to spend time with them that's meaningful and not trying to care for them, their physical, emotional needs.
Well, of course, I can relate to that firsthand. Mama was at the Arbor at Avamere Court, and it was a wonderful, wonderful community. And I want people to realize people really need to get over the fact that you're like putting your parents away or whatever, because it's not. It's like good care. It's people who know what they're doing. And I came and went almost every day until COVID hit. I mean, I was there all the time. It doesn't mean you can't love and be with your people. And, you know, it's interesting. You know, I was reading about God is love this morning. And, you know, when God commands us to, number one, love him, and number two, love our neighbor, loving people is what God wants us to do, to shine his light. And they love people at these places, Avamere, Court at Kaiser, and the Albany, which is more assisted and other types of care, are great places. And so anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Scott. We are blessed to have amazing sponsors, which, by the way, if you ever want to be a sponsor, reach out to me or Scott. We'd love to help you. There's actually a waiting list for this show. So reach out to me. We'd love to make you part of that. But anyway, Scott, what else was going on with you? What happened this week?
2025 is coming right up. And, you know, we've just been doing a lot of planning projects and things that we want to accomplish in 25. And I encourage people to do two things at this time of year. Reflect and be grateful, and use the 1,000 thanks hashtag. And then also plan and prepare for your 2025. And what do you want to be? Who do you want to be at the end of this year? And so that's been a lot of focus, Russ.
Yeah. Well, me too. And I want people to know they can reach out to you and I. The best place to go is local.theexperience.video. That's local.theexperience.video. And I tell you all the information about Scott and I, both of our websites, information about our other shows, and information about this show and the other experience shows are there. And we mostly would love to connect with you. If you reach out to that, you end up getting to dscottsmith.com or russhedge.com. And we would love to connect with you as people and be a blessing to you at the end of this year and in 2025. And that's how we roll, and we love people. And so we're so thankful today. And we have an amazing guest on today who's awesome as well. And so I'm going to tell everybody one more thing, and then we're going to go to Cody here because he is great. But also, if you just want to go straight to our YouTube community, you can go to the experience.video. Takes you straight to YouTube. We would love for you to subscribe today. You can do it either way. What I gave you before, which is local.theexperience.video, you can go jump to our YouTube page from there, or just go directly to the experience.video and you can go straight to our YouTube page there. And we'd love for you to be part of that. It will give you amazing people and amazing value for the guests that we've had. So people like Cody today that are just amazing people.
Inspirational. Every episode is just inspirational.
It is. It is. So, hey, Cody's a friend of mine. I want to get him in here, let him introduce himself, but so gracious for him. Not only do we go to church together, but he's one of the pastors at one of our campuses. I'll let him tell more about that, but welcome, Mr. Cody Loop. Hey, Cody.
Hey, Cody.
Hi. Good morning,
This
everybody.
is really interesting today because today I get to interview you, and this coming Sunday, I'll be out at the Dallas campus with you, and you will be interviewing me. So
I know.
we get the
I'm just going to steal whatever questions you use today, so I don't have to write anything for Sunday.
There you go. That'll work. There we go. So, Cody, I just can't tell you how much I appreciate you and Micah and your family. What a blessing you are to me and my family. And let's just start off by telling everybody, who is Cody Loop and what are you up to?
Wow, who is Cody Loop? That's kind of a big question, I feel like. So I'm Cody, if you didn't catch on to that by the little name thing right there. I feel like I fulfill a lot of different roles, but my primary one is just being a disciple of Jesus and trying to be a good husband to my wife. We met in high school. We're high school sweethearts. We've been together like 13 years now, which I don't feel like I'm old enough to be able to say that, but we've been together for a little bit. And we have a couple of kids. My wife does hair. I'm a firefighter. We're campus pastors. We're friends of people. We just have a lot going on. But, that's kind of what we do. But, I don't know. What do you want to
So we talk a lot about the, integration. How do we integrate faith, family, and work? And not only do you have a responsible job as a firefighter, you have a responsible job as a pastor. You have a responsible job as a father and a husband. So let's talk about how you got involved in the ministry and in firefighting.
Yeah. It started in a young age, really in high school. I knew we were called into ministry. I felt like God was saying, hey, ministry's for you. And at that time I went to a very large church where in my mind, ministry was always a full-time job. That's the only way I ever saw it. And I think at that time, most pastors most kids saw ministry as a career. And so that's kind of what I pictured it as. And I remember very vividly, the first time I went to my dad, and both my parents were very involved in church and amazing leaders in church. And one of the first pieces of advice he gave me was like, hey, this is awesome. And I love that you see that you're called into ministry, but make sure that, you don't limit yourself to a career in ministry. Find, something that could pay the bills as well. And I remember him telling me that and going, man, I can't believe my own parents don't support me. This is unbelievable. Like, I thought for sure they would just champion this calling in my life and be so excited. And the reality was he was actually very wise in his words, because I feel that God has really set us up for something that we could never do had we been full-time in ministry and needed a paycheck from the church, because now we've been able to plant a church without, requiring any income from the church, which has just been a huge blessing to not just us, because it's taken that weight off of us, but also to the church to be able to do something without putting more pressure on the church. So that's been been amazing. And so something that kind of came out of that piece of advice from my dad so many years ago has grown into something now that we never could have imagined ever doing. So that's been pretty cool. So that's kind of how we got into ministry. Is it was just kind of a part of our life. We were always involved in ministry. Straight out of high school, we were helping with youth group, and then we were helping with college group, and eventually ended up at Family Life, where God called us to plant a church. So that's what we've done here in Dallas. So, you know, God's been involved in every little detail along the way, and even the ones that felt like a setback have been really just his blessing. You know, we've even seen that this week and just the way that he's guided us. So I think priority wise, he's always been number one, even with firefighting and with kids now and family, especially around this time in the holidays. It's easy to get lost in the drama and the mix of everything, but always putting him first has been so important. And everything else just fallen into place. As far, you know, I got into firefighting because I had a good mentor of mine in high school that was a firefighter and said, hey, you should look into this, and ended up falling in love with it and feeling like God opened the doors for that. But always knowing that ministry and people were our number one calling. And that's always been our priority, even with different jobs and having kids and getting married and having all these family stuff around the holidays. It's always been a priority, is just following Jesus. And everything else is just falling into place. So that's how we kind of keep our priorities straight, is just making sure that he's number one, and, you know, he gets to kind of set the priorities for us. We don't have to worry about all the little details when we know that he's going to close the right doors and open the other doors that we need to go through. So that's kind of how we've navigated making big decisions together.
You know, it's interesting because I really think that people forget that every part of life is ministry, right?
Yep.
I mean, people forget that, you know, working a regular job is, you know, still ministry. You're still out there talking with people, interacting with people, being able to share the love of Jesus just through your actions and through all that you do. I think being so giving as a firefighter just exemplifies what Jesus would do. I think Jesus might be a firefighter if he was down here. He's out there, he's putting out fires all the time for most of us, right? When he's not lighting a fire, he's putting out fires. But it's very interesting. So I need to tell you a little story that you may not know. When you first came to Family Life, I know you already knew Jeff, who's our lead pastor, and you came in and you were sitting like 1 or 2 rows ahead of my wife and I, ahead of Leah and I, and then suddenly, this is right at the very beginning of Jeff being there, you being there, because I think at this point, I'm still on staff. I'm the worship pastor at this point, because when you came on, or when you first came, suddenly we're at the credential ceremony, and I'm getting my credentials. All these years I've been a lay pastor, but never had officially credentialed. And over in the middle section, my wife goes, hey, isn't that couple that sits 2 rows in front of us? Because we didn't really know you at this point. And there you were you got 2 credentials at that. I got my first credential. You got your first and second together. And I know that was a lot of study for me to get one. So I thought, wow, he's really moving. He got both credentials at the same time. And but it was interesting because then we started talking at church, getting to know each other better. And what a blessing. You guys have been in your family and your kids. And by the way, if people didn't see this, I got to tell everybody, this is just so sweet that one of your kids, your wife says hi, and one of your kids says, hi, Daddy.
Hi, Hallie.
So anyway, when you first came, clearly, and I didn't know this because I didn't know you, but when you first came, you were clearly focused on looking at ministry. You were heading that direction. Do you struggle with the combination of the firefighting? You and I were talking about this a little bit ahead of time, and the crazy hours, because you work like 3 days, 24 hours on, and then you're off and jumping right into ministry. Talk about that a little bit. That's a difficult task.
Yeah, that's probably the hardest part. And like I was telling you earlier, like typically we work 24-hour shifts. Every now and then they end up being a 36 or a 48-hour shift even, or longer, who knows. But typically they're 24 hours. And so there's times when I get off Sunday morning, like this last Sunday I usually get relieved around 7, and then I got to be at church by 9. So we come home, get dressed, go straight to church. And that can be obviously a bit of a challenge. I think being in the service for so long, I'm pretty used to running on 45 to 60 minutes of sleep and being okay for a day or two. I've just always been a very like driven, I don't like to take a nap kind of a person. That's just kind of been my personality. And I think I've been doing it for over 10 years now, I guess, in the fire service. And I really don't like having to come home and take a nap, Russ. Like I feel like it just drains me because I come home and I want to get stuff done. That's just my personality. So, yeah, it can be a bit of a challenge to come home and have to kind of shut off the firefighter Cody that just kind of does what he needs to do and takes care of the chaos. And then coming back to, okay, I got to be Pastor Cody now and help people and kind of talk to people. And it's a very different job, very different mindset, I think, because, you know, at work, it's a like, hey, kind of shut the emotions off and get done what you need to get done to bring some order back to whatever chaotic situation we're in. And it's the exact opposite of the pastor. I got to, you know, bring the emotion in and say, hey, let's slow down and, you know, emotionally or whatever, just as a friend, connect with people and bring some order back to whatever chaos maybe they're facing at home. So in some ways it's the same, in some ways it's very, very different. So it's a bit of a challenge. And that's been one of the hardest things to navigate, I think, for sure, has been what church demands versus what work demands versus what home demands, and just kind of, you know, how do all those things work together? And, you know, the longer I've done it, the more I've realized that it's healthy to try not to put too many walls between the different roles. Because I think we can, especially as guys, maybe compartmentalize like all of the different things we have to do. If you ever watch that video with I can't think of his name, but he talks about guys have a brain of waffles and ladies have a brain of spaghetti with everything different connected. And we like everything put in their box and we only touch that box and think about that box. But I feel like the older I get and maybe a little bit wiser I get, the more I realize that, you know, having a little bit of spaghetti on top to be able to draw from all of the different areas of experience that you have and not just compartmentalize like, hey, I'm at church. This is the church version of me. And really lean into, hey, this is, you know, my whole life experience. And that's how we kind of connect with people. You know, Paul said, I've become all things to all people so that in all ways people might acknowledge him and see, you know, basically connect with everybody by leaning on all your different experiences and find different ways to talk to different people rather than just staying in your box and feeling like, well, this is who I am. And when I go home, I'm this guy. And when I go to work, I'm this guy. But that's something I've really learned over the years is try not to do that.
as guys, especially, it is easy for us to separate and segregate secular and sacred. Right. And we are really big believers in integration. That's one of the things we really like to emphasize here on the Experience Local. And today's guest is Cody Loop from Family Life in Dallas, Oregon. And that is a church plant. And I want to ask you about doing a church plant because it's a different type of ministry. It's a very specific type of ministry. And Dallas, Oregon, for people, I used to work there. And I remember telling somebody about being in Dallas. And they said, oh, I've driven through there. And I was like, not unless you were lost.
Yeah, there's not a lot of through Dallas.
99 goes on the west side or the east side of Dallas, but not through Dallas. Highway 22 goes on the north side, but not through Dallas. And unless you get lost and you wander through that little triangle. So tell us about running a startup in Dallas, Oregon.
Yeah, so my wife and I moved to Dallas after we got married. Because it was cheaper at the time. And we were like, hey, sure, we can move to Dallas and save some money. So we came out here. And then we just kind of fell in love with the city. Like, it's just it's a small community outside of Salem. It's kind of a bedroom town. There's, you know, kind of a very close knit community here. People pretty much know everybody that's here. And so we kind of got involved in different groups and different places and just fell in love with the city. Church planting was never an aspiration. It was never a goal. It was never part of our vision. Mike and I are very type A people, and we've always had a 5-year and a 10-year plan. And it was never on either of those. It was just a absolute call from God that we felt when we started attending Family Life. And so as we started to walk through that, we're like, okay, what does Dallas look like for a new church? And we started, you know, doing the demographics and looking at what Dallas has and doesn't have. And we're like, there are 26 churches in a town of about 15,000 people, with maybe another 5,000 in the surrounding area. that's a lot of churches. Why in the world did God ask us to plant a church here? And just realizing that, as we continue to look at stats, and we're like, there's 20,000 people within a 10-minute drive that don't know Jesus. And we're like, that's a lot of people. So just seeing that, even with the community that was here, there's still a need for more churches, just like every city. There's not a place in the world that is saturated with churches, in my opinion. And, all the training we did and different conferences we went to kind of learn, what does this look like? Because it's a little bit of a business. It's a little bit of a ministry. It's a little bit of an outreach. How do we fit all these things together? One of the key things that really stuck with us, and the key reasons why we stuck with this, despite how hard it can be, is we learned that 80% of Americans who accept Christ for the first time as an adult will do so at a church that's less than 5 years old. So statistically, we know that planting churches is the number one way to reach the lost and evangelize the world. So that was something that is really important to us and has always been close to our heart, is to invite people to church and bring people into the kingdom and make heaven a little bit more crowded every Sunday. And every weekday. And so that was kind of our motivation, and going, okay, there's people here that don't know Christ. Let's plant a church here and find some people that for whatever reason haven't found a home church yet. And maybe we can be that. So then we just kind of continued what we were doing, continued being involved in the community, continued finding groups of people and just inviting them in. It was never our heart to plant a church that was just full of church people. We wanted to plant a church that was just full of people that don't have a place to learn about Jesus and become more like him. So that's kind of what we did. And here we are a couple of years later.
And you've done an amazing job. You have. You guys,
Thanks.
What's interesting, I think that helps too, is the way this worked for you in this situation. It's a campus of another church. So the other campus is really involved in helping as well.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I could do a quick shout out to my wonderful, beautiful daughter who said hi, by the way. Good morning.
Yeah. Hi, Kyla.
Kyla, she is the worship pastor now, followed in her dad's footsteps. And she is amazing. She's twice as good as I was. So God's really upgraded. But no, it's all about, I think, the support that you get from the other campus as well, I think, is a big help. You weren't completely thrown out on your own, because I agree with everything you said. It's all amazing, a huge need. It's hard, though. And, God can make a way where there seems no way, but it is hard to do it without any support. Trying to, run it on your own. And really, honestly, God's way, we weren't meant to do it alone. We're better together.
No.
We're better when we come together and do things. And I think sometimes church plants fail because they try to do it alone. They don't have that support. So this campus idea, I think, has been a great thing for you guys. So when it comes to that, your family is so, Micah and your kids are just so involved in everything too. And talk just a little bit about that too. I mean, you've obviously been high school sweethearts and you've talked about that, but how involved, especially Micah, is with you as well?
Oh, she's the co-pastor at our campus. They've been, Declan and Hallie might as well be co-pastors as well. They've all been amazing, and you can't do this alone. Obviously, that's not the point. I would never want to, but they've been on board since, we'll say Micah was on board day 2. Day 1 was a little bit of shock when I told her what I felt like God was calling us to do. But they've been instrumental. They've been huge. And Declan and Hallie have just, they love it. Like Hallie this whole week, literally every morning is going, are we going to church today? And has been asking to go to church every day this week. One of the things that drew us to family life, and the reason that we love the culture of family life, is the culture that church is supposed to be fun. Like we want you to enjoy being here. We don't want our kids to have to sit down, shut up and listen. And they drag their feet to church every Sunday. We want to make a place where they want to be, because we really believe that if you win the kids, you win the families. And so many times we've heard from families, hey, we're here today at church because our kids were asking to come to church today. And we think that's a huge part of ministry. So doing it as a family and trying to get your kids involved and give them jobs so they feel like they have some ownership has been huge. I mean, Hallie and Declan help us set up every Sunday. Declan's putting mics together, putting batteries and microphones, and Hallie's turning things on. And, she's 2 years old, but she knows how to do stuff and she knows how to help. And I think getting people involved and building community while you're doing something has been instrumental. I think a lot of people connect better while they're working together rather than just sitting, drinking a cup of coffee and trying to have some casual conversations about the weather. I think we really do build community while we're working. And that's something that we've done as a family is, hey, Hallie, can you go do this? And Declan, can you do that? They have ownership. It's their church too, not just ours.
I'd like to ask you about that because there's a lot of discussion around what is church, because with the online world, I can get the absolute best preaching in the world today, and I can get the best music. I mean, Kayla's good, but right. I mean, it's all available online. Why would I want to be involved in a local body of believers as opposed to just watching church online?
Yeah, that's it's funny you asked that, because we literally talked about that this Sunday, talking about it's not good to be alone. And I think, being, like you said, being online, there's A+, the best of the best online, and you go to church and sometimes you're like, oh, that it was okay, right? But I think we go to church, or we go to the building of the church. I would say the church is the people, right? But we go to church on Sunday morning because we need to be with people. Genesis, God said it's not good for man to be alone. And there's, as much as we can see other people and kind of connect online, there is just something different about being physically together. And I think that's super important, to not neglect getting together with other believers and seeing eye to eye. Through a screen is great, and I think it supplements what we do. I think it's a great, hey, I'm sick and I can't go to church this week. Well, you can still feel like you were a part of it online, and that's amazing. I don't want to discredit what we do online either, because we obviously have streaming stuff online and we connect with people on Facebook and Instagram. And if anything, I think those are the new front doors of the church, but I think they're the front door. I think it's important that we still get people into the physical community to come together and see eye to eye, be able to shake somebody's hand and give them a hug or pray with them. Those are just things that I don't think we can do without being together physically. I think we're seeing some of the side effects of it after COVID. People going, oh, I miss people. It was important. So as much as I think it may have been hard to get through COVID, I think it was a blessing in some ways to kind of open people's eyes to needing community, needing people.
Yeah, we do need community, and you're building a great community out there. Listen, let everybody know, we got to wrap things up for today. So let everybody know how they will get in touch with you. I do have your family life email scrolling along the bottom, but if you have something else, let me know.
Yeah, Cody at thisisfamilylife.org, online, Facebook, Instagram, all the ways. If you email me, we'll get you connected. We also, we have a campus website too, or the link tree on our Instagram page. I think it's just Dallas Family Life. Those are the easiest ways to get a hold of us.
Perfect. Yeah, that is so good. And definitely I would recommend everybody reach out to Cody, and I've got the email corrected there. Everybody reach out to Cody and connect with him. Cody, you are truly a blessing. And, I have been blessed with great children, as you have, who grew up in the church, and they turned out amazing, as you know, because you work with one of them. And I am so thankful for that. And so church is the best place to raise your family. I just love that. So Thanks so much for being here today. And we're going to send you to the green room. Hang tight for 1 second. We'll be right with you. But thanks so much. Wow. I tell you, he's a good one. And we get great people every week. If anybody who's not tuning into the Experience Local needs to, because amazing people in our community.
Yeah, so the Experience Local, of course, is broadcast live here online, and then it's also available tonight at 6:30 on radio and Saturday morning at 8:30. Make sure that you tune into that and share. It's a great way to experience the Experience Local, but always inspirational stories. And today, I think Cody, once again, just really represented that well. Great stories and an encouragement to folks out there.
Yeah, definitely. For more information on the Experience Radio Network, go to local.theexperience.video today. Thanks so much for being here, everybody. Remember, we're live at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and 11 a.m. Texas Standard Time every week. Till next week, have a blessed week and enjoy
the experience locally.
Woohoo!
Thank you for tuning in to The Experience Local with Russ and Scott. Listen to the program on Spotify or wherever you listen to fine podcasts. Join in every Monday live at 9 a.m. Pacific on LinkedIn, YouTube, and Facebook. We look forward to seeing you next time on The Experience Local with Russ and Scott.